Hello. Welcome back to Seaweed Brain, a Percy Jackson podcast. Today we are live from the duet. Live from San Francisco,
Live from San
Francisco! We're going to have some real fresh, real live, real unfiltered audio.
I'm trying really hard not to talk at the same time as Carter so that we can cut things out as needed because we're sitting in the same room.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild time. Today we're going to be talking about Nut. We're going to be talking about falconry. We're going to be talking about luxury air transportation.
Emo boys.
Much to think about. Yeah, stick around.
Welcome to Seaweed Brain, live from the duet, live from San Francisco. Joined today by a returning guest who is back from a long time ago. It's Lilly.
Hi, guys.
Lilly Caines is back with us to talk about the Red Pyramid. Hi, Lilly. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing good. How are y'all?
Literally, when was the last time you were here?
Like 2 years ago, I think. I think it was like Lilly 2022.
What were we talking about?
I can't remember. Oh,
I have no idea.
It was Trials of Apollo.
Oh, wow.
I think it was Trials of Apollo, yeah.
It's wild how long ago we covered Trials of Apollo because we are, of course, in the Bay Area, which we'll mention many times today, I'm sure. And much of Trials of Apollo takes place in the Bay Area whenever they're at Camp Jupiter.
Meaningful parts of it, yeah. It was on this podcast when we were discussing Trials of Apollo that we were all like, what is Future Tower? Did Rick make that up?
Is that a real
place?
What's
going on? Is that a real place? And I think if you crane your neck the right way, you may be able to... Oh, no. There's like a hill right there. Right behind that hill. Sometimes, if we go like 2 blocks west, you'll be able to see Future Tower from where we are right now.
Carter's home. That's pretty cool. Can somebody reverse stalk you and find out where you live if we just said that on the internet?
Oh.
I don't think so.
Perfect. It stays in. Yeah, so we're in San Francisco. Lilly is somewhere else. And we're going to talk about the Red Pyramid. So Lilly, tell us about your relationship with the Red Pyramid and with the Caine Chronicles. Did you read them as a kid?
I did read them as a kid. I read them amidst the whole, when I was obsessed with Percy Jackson, still am obsessed with Percy Jackson, obvi. But I remember being really excited as a kid to read it because my last name is Caines and like they're Caine. And so like I felt like I was like so cool and whatever.
Yes.
Granted, my name is spelled differently, but like that didn't matter to like 13-year-old me. Like I was thrilled.
Oh yeah.
I also was super excited because I knew that Sadie and Carter were multiracial kiddos. And I'm Dominican, and I feel like my family looks really different. And I have a twin, but he looks really different from me to the point where people don't think I'm related to him. Like, we're both black, but I'm pretty light-skinned, and he's, like, super dark-skinned, and our hair is super different, whatever. So I was super excited that, like, Sadie and Carter were, like, siblings, but looked really different. And, like, me and my twin looked really different. It was, like, a whole thing.
Yeah.
Me and Seth, we, like, really loved the Caine Chronicles. Like, we were attached. Which actually, he's the person who made me reread it. He reread the Caine Chronicles in January, and then I joined him. So,
oh, wow.
We should have forced him into this Zencaster call. Oh
this
no!
Is so tragic.
Okay, we'll have to bring him back. Wow, which one of you was older by a few seconds?
So that's a crazy question. It's actually 5-ish minutes, but my entire life I was raised that I was the one that was older by 5-ish minutes. But someone got the mix-up, and it was a lie. And I found out when I was 18 and changing my passport that Seth is actually 5 minutes older than me. So we just, like, pretend that I'm still 5 minutes older, but that's not true. We're liars.
Oh, my gosh. Do you have older siblings as well, or is it just you two?
Yeah. I have an older brother named Alex.
Okay, so at least it wasn't, like, the full dimension shift of, am I the eldest daughter of this family or not? Okay.
Yeah.
Did that change the way you perceived yourself?
I think no, because I think we thought it was a funny bit of information and then went back to pretending that I was still the middle child.
Yeah.
It's just like a fun icebreaker, if you will, now.
So, okay, you read through the whole series, like, as a kid?
Yeah. I read through the whole series as a kid, and then recently reread it just now.
And how was it revisiting?
I think I realized, that I'd forgotten almost everything I'd read as a child. Like, it felt like I was reading it again for the first time as an adult. I was like, wow, I really, did I skip that? Like, I didn't remember. So I think I just, retained more information. I think also I paid attention to the adult characters way more. Like, Amos ended up being super intriguing to me. The way Bass treats the kids is, really funny to me now. And also, the way Sadie and Carter interact with, Zia and other said characters that come along the way. I think also, as an adult now, I'm just like, what? This this is really strange or like interesting. But yeah, I don't know, just new perspective now that my frontal lobe is slightly more developed.
Yeah. Wait, so as a kid, were you very like Team Sadie?
I was a lot like Sadie though as a kid. So like I thought me and Sadie were like besties or whatever.
Yeah. Were you wearing combat boots and like
I was.
having a British? Were you like having a British accent?
The British accent at times, embarrassingly enough. The combat boots
Real,
were
yeah.
definitely
Same.
there. Yeah, no. I just thought I was cool, hot shit. Embarrassing.
And revisiting both perspectives now, have you softened up on Carter a little, or are you still like, no, it's always Team Sadie?
I love Carter. I think Carter's my fave.
He's precious, right?
He's so precious. I do have a soft spot for him now.
We have to protect him.
Definitely.
Okay, cool. I'm excited to talk about these two chapters. We're on 20 and 21 today. Before we dive in, we have to do our Patreon shout out. We have a couple new patrons, Ava, and I'm definitely not going to say this right, for Yelly. And then we have sustaining patrons, Dayton, Justin, James, Izzy, and Olympus Weekly. As always, thank you so much. Be sure to join our Patreon for monthly exclusive special episodes and access to episode outlines and our super fun Discord server. And lately, access to unedited, uncut versions of our episodes early when I don't have time to edit and the episodes are late. You get to listen to them early with no cuts. So yeah, join our Carter looks really scared right now.
I did not know about this.
This was a last week thing.
Oh, I didn't realize that was the unedited version. Wow. What a steal for the patron.
Join our Patreon, and now we'll talk about the Caine Chronicles. Where did we last leave off?
That is a really excellent question. We last left off in chapter 19. We were in Sadie's perspective, and we had just journeyed across the ocean from Paris to Washington, D.C. We had a little picnic at the top of the Washington Monument. We're regrouping. We're thinking about the future, how we're going to get from here to Arizona, which is a state that Sadie might not have a concept of mentally. And she's going to sleep. That's specifically what's happening. We begin with Sadie asleep at the top of the Washington Monument.
Because she was really exhausted from opening up the portal?
Yes. 2 portals in one day. Unprecedented.
Yes, so she has to take a nappy poo. So this is chapter 20, Sadie's perspective. I visit the Star-Spangled Goddess. And this is our first time getting a magical Sadie dream, because the past few magical dreams, well, I guess if you don't count the like traveling back in time to see the birthday vision.
Yeah, from the history of the gods. I don't count that.
Yeah,
I think that's
because she
different.
wasn't in Ba form at the time. This is our first time seeing Sadie in Ba form.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. It's the first time that she's kind of not really in control, because the other time she also walked to this memory, she found it and she immersed herself, whereas this time she's being whisked away as the human-headed chicken.
And she's not really stoked about being a human-headed chicken. We're having classic 12-year-old girl body insecurity.
There's multiple levels of it. She reformulates her Ba's appearance, but then she also is looking down on her sleeping body from above in the Washington Monument and criticizing herself and being like, my hair was not it today.
She also was recently a bird too. A bird who couldn't stop being a bird. Like,
That's
she was
true.
stuck.
She does have bird trauma as
There's
well.
a lot
So-
of bird PTSD in these two chapters. Yeah.
Mhm.
I can understand her not wanting to be chicken body Sadie head.
Yeah.
Right. She says, it's bad enough looking in a mirror or seeing pictures of myself on my friends' web pages.
Web pages.
Do you think she means like custom Tumblr? Is Sadie like an HTML hacker?
Oh, she very much could be.
I kind of think this is probably MySpace. Yeah.
This book came out in 2009. Sadie at this point is 12. Sadie was born in like 1997. That's I think young, on the young side for MySpace, but not impossible. We of course both recently watched Dee Dee. That director, the writer of that is 1994. He's 1994 and he had important formative middle school experiences on MySpace.
Uh-huh.
So like that's not that much older than this.
Yeah.
Sadie would just be like a relatively young person
Mhm.
for MySpace.
MySpace. Yeah.
Also, Sadie gives the type of girly who would be like on a social media platform, like really young.
Yeah,
like she lied
really
about
young.
her age
Exactly.
on the thing, and she's just like pretending.
Yeah.
But it like literally couldn't be Instagram. And I think that Facebook was not for the like hip chic 11-year-old girls in 2009.
Not
It was
Right.
yet.
still like a college-ish platform
Yeah.
at the time, Facebook.
Yeah.
And at that point, you wouldn't call it a web page either, because Facebook was their whole part of their bag was like, we're not like MySpace.
Mm.
We're like, we're gonna pivot a little bit, and then of course everything converged once they got monopoly power. But like,
Uh-huh. Yeah, so it's definitely MySpace.
yeah,
Yeah.
another way in which Sadie is maybe just Charlie XCX.
Yeah, but revisiting that, I do wonder what little kids think when they read this.
If
Like,
they have no concept of what's going on,
does a 10-year-old know what a web page is?
I mean,
That's
I think they might be like, that's an old person way of talking about it.
Yeah.
But they also
Yeah.
they're not going to imagine a MySpace page. They're going to imagine like Amazon or something, right? Like they're going to imagine a Web
yeah.
2
Or like a blog.
Do they know what a blog is though? Even
Oh,
They know what a Substack is.
they know what some people know what a Substack is. Yeah. What about,
so
is Medium
crazy.
dead? Would a 12-year-old know anything about Medium? Probably not.
I think Medium is
Medium
not for
is
the youths. Yeah.
for the history books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's crazy.
I find this to be a fascinating, very fun sentence, reminding us of our place in history,
Yeah.
the context.
Existing in the context. Yeah.
The other fun thing about this dream is that the emo boy is back. The boy with the dark hair and the mysterious eyes that unnerves Sadie. Lily is giggling. Did this bring back memories for you?
I think, like, in my head, like, as a kid, I remember being, like, more intrigued by this guy. And now as an adult, I'm like, ew. Like, what?
That is so beautiful. The growth.
The growth.
I don't know that
truly.
Carter and I can say the same. That
Growth
we grew past
is-
this.
yeah,
past
wow.
this.
Not for everyone. Growth.
Growth is not for everyone.
Everyone's on their own walk. It's okay.
Grow. Wait.
Is
that
this
a-
the Willow Avril Lavigne song?
I was
that you're
I was
referencing?
literally about to say, like, is that a Paramore song off of the self-titled album? No, it's the Willow Avril Lavigne song.
Yeah.
Grow.
Yes.
It's for them. Until Haley Williams says grow. Well, she did. She said some of us have to grow up sometimes.
She did say that.
Some of us.
So, oh, yeah.
Not everyone.
Ooh. Yeah, not hot emo boy, apparently.
Yep.
Oh.
Sadie is like, what are you doing here in my dreamscape? And the boy is like, well, spirit travel and death are very similar.
Which is also, like, that's a new piece of information. Like,
Mhm.
there are lots of ways to be an emo. You can be, like, an emo in a vampiric way. You can be an emo in a artsy way. I don't know. But he's specifically a death boy.
Welcome back, Nico D'Angelo.
I was just
Many
thinking
people are
that.
saying, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, little dark-haired death boy. Sadie's like, oh, should I be worried? Like, obviously when someone says that, am I gonna die? And he says, or not this trip. And then, like, basically disappears.
So mysterious. And only we know that this didn't happen to Carter. You know, like, Sadie,
Mhm.
I don't know if she understands how personal and unique this experience is. And I don't know how I feel about how personal and unique this experience is. But it is. It's bespoke.
Because Carter didn't run into this boy.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
his
Carter just
space.
goes places in his several dreams that we've experienced so far. Like, Carter's never met this death boy.
Maybe he's seen this death boy, but the death boy didn't catch his eyes, because he's just
Oh.
thinking about Zia.
Yeah, Carter just wasn't gagging.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sadie is gagging. She literally is struggling to produce words in this dream. But
It's true.
he's not there for that long. This is transitory. He is in and out. What we're actually here to do is talk to Mother Nut
Mother
in
Nut!
the sky.
The nut.
She says, you're the nut, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love her. She is not chic,
Sadie?
Yeah. She's not chic at all.
And she thinks she is.
Chic in some ways, but I think irreverent, playful in others. Also a 12-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, she's just a 12-year-old girl.
Nut, on the other hand, is chic.
No,
This apartment sounds fabulous.
She lives in a luxury modern apartment.
In the sky. Yeah. This is something that I've been missing.
Welcome back, Rachel Elizabeth Dare.
It's that, but I think that they're I don't know, we've had, I guess, a lot of modern luxury, but the specific vision that I'm having for her apartment, this marriage of something that is not just, I guess, like the Brooklyn house is sort of akin to this, but the idea of something that really feels like a new, interesting pairing of an ancient divinity and a modern aesthetic, modern technologies, is, I think, something that we actually haven't gotten that much of in these books so far. Like, it's a very specific take on, like, how is Nut changing with the times, as opposed to, like, the Brooklyn house is nice, but I think it's like, oh, this is what a really nice place would look like in Brooklyn, period.
Should we read the description of Nut appearing?
She stepped into the light, and I gasped. She wore an Egyptian kilt from the waist down. From the waist up, she wore only a bikini top, and her skin was dark blue, covered with stars. I don't mean painted stars. She had the entire cosmos living on her skin, gleaming constellations, galaxies too bright to look at, glowing nebulae of pink and blue dust. Her features seemed to disappear into the stars that shifted across her face. Her hair was long and as black as midnight. "You're the nut," I said. Then I realized maybe that had come out wrong. I mean, the sky goddess.
Oh, this is really nice. She gives Sadie the Egyptian drink. This moment is like important for Sadie because she's like, oh, sipping this tea in this like random goddess's luxury apartment is the first time I felt safe in days.
Yeah.
We needed a mother moment.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I love that she doesn't feel safe with Bast. I think that's really important. You know, like, when you're the cool aunt, the kids should not feel safe with you.
They should be having a fun time.
They should be having a fun time. They should be physically safe, sure.
Yeah.
But like, or maybe not physically safe, emotionally safe.
They should feel like Bast is doing her best and, capable, interesting, intelligent, all those things. But Bast is for the adventure,
Yeah. She's not Mother Nut. Like, Mother Nut giving you this warm drink in her home, that's a completely different form of adult guidance.
I also wanted to take a beat on the drink. The drink is kalab. I hope we're saying that right. It is a modern Egyptian drink made out of vanilla. Modern Egyptian is worth emphasizing here because vanilla is New World. I thought this was really interesting. Like, this is one of the ways in which we are having Nut modernize and tell us some information about the relationship between modern Egypt and Egyptian divinity and the House of Life and all of these things, where she seems to be implicitly expressing through this a connection with modern Egypt as like especially relevant to herself, her power, her role in the cosmos, etc. In a way that was interesting. It's like a hint. It's a small gesture, but it's different than what we're getting from, say, Bast, who does not seem to particularly, I don't know, seems like equally at home everywhere.
Yeah. And she is the sky, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's everywhere.
I was just thinking about the relationship also that Sadie had like with the drink and like maybe her past, because she grew up with her grandparents, and maybe like she doesn't have a lot of motherly experiences, but maybe like sharing a drink with an older person is something that's really familiar and comfortable for her, and she hasn't done that in a couple days.
Yeah, like and the ritual of it too, being passed a drink, getting to like sit there and enjoy it.
Yeah,
that's the thing that she craves and what she misses. Versus like if somebody passed Carter this drink and he sipped it, I don't think Carter would be like, oh my god, I feel safe for the first time in days.
That's true. Yeah.
It'd be more like if an older man like shoved a book in his chest and was like, okay, now follow me. Carter would be like, I feel safe now. Yeah, I feel taken care of.
I think that's right. Yeah. Sadie tries to get the boys deets. That's kind of the first thing that she says. Mind you, because she still doesn't know his name, his role in the cosmos.
About him, really.
She's so for real for that. She's like, maybe this other magical person knows about this random magical boy I saw on the way here. I have to get the information.
You gotta get the digits. Yeah. She did not get the digits. She did her best, though.
Either his digits or his webpage.
Not the webpage.
She needs to see the pictures that his friends posted of him on their webpages. She needs the tagged photos. That's the real... Did MySpace have tagged photos? Was this a Zuckerbergian innovation? Is
this still something kids do? Kids, if you're stalking your crush on the internet, go to tagged photos.
Yes.
That's where you see the truth.
That's where you see the truth. You need to delve into the social networks. You have to find out if they're regular or not based on the way that other people perceive them. That's important, yeah.
Teaching the next generation of internet stalkers. That's crazy.
Is it internet stalking, or is this something that we all understand? I feel like if you're like a good, nice person, your friend should have lovely posts of you. Like, your tag photo should be full of, warmth and specificity. Like, it should reflect your uniqueness and personal interests and care for your social networks. And if it doesn't, then,
I think stalking someone's tagged photos is good because if you stalk someone's tagged photos and you accidentally hit like, it's no harm, no foul.
Perhaps.
Wow, I've never even thought about that. That's so
Perhaps,
true.
Yeah, it depends on how vigilant they are for you.
Really revealing the tricks of the trade here. Okay, well, there's some info here about how Nut moves through the world. She doesn't have a host body, but that has to do with that she is an air goddess, and she is one of the few people to never be imprisoned. I put that in quotes because this is something we learned about in the last chapter with the fact that Bast was imprisoned for like a long period of time, forced to battle a monster. Monster also is in quotation marks there. So Nut needs to talk to Sadie because she is trying to advocate for peace between the gods and the House of Life, which I think we should keep in mind is only two sides of a larger equation that we are now being shown, because there aren't just the gods in the House of Life. There's also monsters, potentially other magicians, etc. She says, a battle between the gods and the House of Life would only serve chaos. You must make the magicians understand this.
I think it's interesting also that she chose that like Sadie's chosen to kind of like deliver this message, because Sadie's already like fighting ISIS. Carter's kind of more farther at this point on his journey of like him and Horace are kind of chatting or whatever, and Sadie kind of wants nothing to do with ISIS. So like she won't even accept the goddess that's kind of like already a part of her or whatever's going on with the possession thing. Now she has to kind of like merge or help assimilate like these gods and like the House of Life and whatever. And Set, they're not on good terms. I mean, her dad's gone. So I think, I don't know, like it's just an interesting person to choose between like what happened between her dad and her uncle and the people that she's lost, and then her like kind of battling out with ISIS. She just kind of has the most restraint, I think.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. Why doesn't Nut call Carter? Is it because Sadie fell asleep first?
No, I think it's because of these reasons. I think it is the different relationship with ISIS. That sounds right to me.
Or is it because Sadie just has way more main character energy than Carter does?
Gasp.
Is it because Sadie has a stronger craving for
being the hero?
I was gonna say for a maternal figure than Carter.
Oh, that too.
Gag.
Because she is sort of appearing as Mother Nut here.
She's appearing as Mother Nut. She's handing her the warm drink. You know, like it's I think a tailored approach.
Yeah, because if we're being really critical, we don't know that this is actually, you know, the way that Nut sets up her mystical home in the sky. You know, maybe she created an apartment that would feel homey to Sadie.
Perhaps. Yeah. Maybe it's time to do a longer reading. I think that this is interesting. Not in many ways here is kind of helping to do our pivot from this book into the broader context of the series, where like pivot number one is it is not the gods versus the House of Life. We're gonna engage in that dichotomy and that discourse for a bit. But then we're realizing that there are these other entities. Like Bast was trapped for a long time, not just because of the House of Life. She was fighting something else that she was supposed to fight. And like probably it was like there was a greater purpose to that fight that was not just about keeping her imprisoned and strengthening the magicians in their fight against the gods, you know? So as we're pivoting out from that, we get the gods have known your family for generations, Sadie. In the olden days, we worked together for the benefit of Egypt.
The magician said that gods caused the fall of the empire.
That is a long and pointless debate. All empires fall, but the idea of Egypt is eternal. The triumph of civilization, the forces of Maat overcoming the forces of chaos. That battle is fought generation after generation. Now it's your turn.
I know. We have to defeat Set.
But is it that simple, Sadie? Set is my son too. In the old days, he was Ra's strongest lieutenant. He protected the sun god's boat from the serpent Apophis. Now there was evil. Apophis was the embodiment of chaos. He hated creation from the moment the first mountain appeared out of the sea. He hated the gods, mortals, and everything they built. And yet Set fought against him. Set was one of us.
Then he turned evil?
Set has always been Set, for better or for worse. But he is part of our family. It is difficult to lose any member of your family, is it not?
My throat tightened. That's hardly fair. Was that really bad? Should I do that one again?
No, that was great. I think the slipping in and out of the British accent is crucial to the characterization of Sadie. Whew.
Are you done? Is there more?
I think that was the key part that I
thought you were going to keep going.
She like has a longer conversation about her husband her husband Sheb and her father Shu. Her husband Jeb being like the earth and her father Shu being the wind that keeps them apart, and then we have a demonstration of her trying to reconnect. But that part is the Rick Riordan Colonel. It's him telling you this is how this story broadly, this set of 3 books is going to instantiate my broader ideas about intergenerational responsibilities and civilizational battles to create worthwhile things.
Yeah. And also, I want to highlight the sentence, perhaps the way you defeat him is not the way you would imagine.
Yes.
That is not only what ends up occurring with Percy Jackson, And I guess Annabeth, really. Who defeats Luke? Luke defeats Luke?
Yeah.
Luke defeats, Kronos. Depending on who you think the big bad of the series is, Luke overcomes parental trauma. Yeah, whatever the big bad is. But also, it's Aang, taking away Ozai's bending. Like, is this always what ends up happening? Like, in our coming of age media about being a hero, that we find out that the stories we've been told about how to conquer and defeat someone are not actually the most productive thing to do?
I think that's a good general principle. I am probably misattributing this. I believe there was a Pixar executive who said that that is the core principle, the core tenet for creating a Pixar story, quote unquote, is that you have to start off with a character who is defined and has one mission, and you want to watch them fail and see what you're supposed to do instead to get to a satisfying place.
Oh. Can we speak on Inside Out 2? Have we all seen Inside Out 2?
I haven't.
I think many people have not, although many people have, certainly, because Pixar's made a ton of money off of that and is not going to maybe be making original properties for the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
But
well, we could talk about Inside Out 1 because I also rewatched that before watching Inside Out 2.
Come on, San Francisco representation.
Yeah, I wanted to really dive into my San Francisco media. Did you hear we're in San Francisco? But yeah, I guess that's true of joy trying to drag sadness into being joyful, and then we discover that's not actually what you do. You're supposed to compromise. And
yeah, it's like every single Pixar film is like you start out with a strong goal, whether it's like Joy trying to protect Riley from sadness, whether it is Woody trying to maintain the traditional integrity of the toy box, whether it is his name Carl trying to find the mountain with the waterfall, and like they all fail,
right?
But they're like less fundamentally tortured as people at the end of the movie because they learned something. And I think that is a general, I think, good principle for coming of age media, that like stories should not just be about kids getting what they want. They should be about kids figuring out ways to grow as people amidst obstacles and new information. There's that, but there's also like this broader narrative of I think this is the first time that we are getting an idea about Set being more complicated than we originally thought. That he's not just big bad god we're trying to destroy because the gods are sometimes evil and he murdered our father maybe or abducted him or something, and etc etc etc. Like we are thinking about him now as like a complex figure that is chaotic and powerful and ambitious and having traits that we might be able to cast differently, and also setting us up to understand that there are worse things to be than him.
Close enough. Welcome back, Luke Castellan.
I think that is the role he's occupying. Like, Set is to Apophis as perhaps, like, it's not a one-to-one analogy, but it's a similar relationship as, say, like a
Luke to
Kronos. Or like certainly like the like whatever. I hate talking about Star Wars media, but like a Vader to Sidious type. That's the kind of thing we're talking about. Like someone who is like an actual human avatar for certain ideas that are challenging to the protagonist, and then like some sort of amorphous force that lacks ambiguity that is powering all of those ideas and leading them potentially astray.
Mm-hmm. We've talked about this many times, but I just appreciate the verbalization in this book of the fact that what we are seeking is peace, and the opposite of chaos is peace.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not just peace. Like specifically, it's order, right? Like, and the way that they frame some of this is that it's about creation. It's about organization, and that like the act of like having human life and like human civilizations are fundamentally about ordering chaos. It's like a fight against entropy.
Say it with me. The opposite of war isn't peace. It's creation. That's from Rent.
It's a Rent reference. Yeah. It's true.
The musical. Yeah. It just feels more, I had to say, like, guided than the Percy Jackson books in a way. Like, our mission with how we are going to organize the world. I feel like even though Julius is gone and Amos is gone, I feel like Sadie and Carter have received much more guidance than like Percy and Annabeth and Grover ever did.
I see. Chiron shade.
I think also that's happening though. I would agree, but I think also it's because like the time frame I feel like is moving quicker though. So then the guidance is also for the reader as well. Because we had like 5 books to kind of like flesh out this arc that we're going through. that the Canes are doing in 3, as well as I feel like so much happens in every individual book that like without seeing the guidance, the readers would kind of be lost too. But I think they have more of a helping hand than like maybe Percy and Annabeth did.
That's
Yeah,
true.
definitely. Yeah, the girls get it done. They're getting it
Yeah.
done in 3 books.
It is also, I think, fundamentally true that Egyptian mythology has this fundamental overarching meta narrative that it is all on some level about order versus chaos. And Greek mythology kind of doesn't have that. Like, there is not something that Zeus is standing for that Kronos and or the giants and or Gaia or whomever Tartarus is standing against. Like, Zeus is there for himself. Everyone's there for themselves.
Mhm.
And we're just trying to figure out interest alignment
Right.
and convergence.
Right. Yeah. Well, after all of this, Nut, because she's, the sky and whatnot, she gives Sadie plane tickets to go see Thoth in Memphis. That's where we have to go to talk to Thoth.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yes. Memphis, not in Egypt, in this case in Tennessee, where Elvis is from. And where Erica recently was. Erica, do you want to serve as Memphis specialty correspondent?
I went to Graceland.
And so will they. Is that a spoiler? Ooh, that is a spoiler.
Ooh.
We're going to go to Graceland in this book.
I have to say, it is not lost on me as I travel across the continental United States that I'm just doing a demigod quest. I've really framed my whole year like that. That's how it feels.
Awesome.
Okay, but this actually isn't the last thing that we get out of this, because we thought that Sadie was just maybe trying to use Nut to get the emo boy's digits, when in reality, Nut is using Sadie to pass a little love letter to Jeb.
It's cute. It's cute. I enjoy that for them. Nut also does give one last note that is very mother, which is saying, we know there's 5 demon days. There's like 5 siblings. They're like this unit of gods that we're thinking about is a unit of 5, and everyone keeps forgetting to think about and or mention the 5th one. Like, we've been tracking Sat, obviously. We've been tracking Horus and Isis, obviously. Osiris is someone who we had a strong handle on from the beginning. There's a 5th one. It's Nephthys. Where is she? What is she up to? What is even her deal? These are things that we don't know. Like, what is Nephthys' bag? I kind of think that the reader has no idea at this point.
This is what we're talking about. We're like, this is like, if this was Percy Jackson, there would be like 6 more chapters of them being like, I don't know about this. But then instead we have Nut coming in and being like, don't forget about the 5th one.
Yeah. An adult. And like Nephthys' mom showing up to say, like, I have 5 kids.
They also have like an adult chaperone who can be like, this is where I've seen her last.
Exactly.
Percy and Annabeth and Grover were just raw dogging it.
Yeah.
They're just wandering around.
I was thinking about Bast in relation to Coach Hedge, because they are like the
They're adults.
They're the adult chaperones of the Heroes of Olympus.
That's so true.
Versus Red Pyramid, except for Bast is a goddess, so she just has a lot more authority and knowledge.
Do you know the meme of someone saying, hey, it's me, hieroglyphics. Do you remember? We used to be a problem together in Ishtar's irrigation class. Do you not know this meme? This is like a Twitter reply to basically say, like, you're old as hell.
Oh.
Like, we were in ancient Egypt together learning about how to do farming for the first time in human civilization. Anyway, that's like actually Bast's energy. When you asked her about Nephthys, she'd be like, oh yeah, Nephthys. We used to be a problem together in this Ishtar's irrigation class.
She's like Tahani Al-Jamil, but like
like a productive name dropper.
Yeah. That was The Good Place. I'm trying to be better about expanding our references so that people have knowledge of what things to go watch when we say things. Yeah.
The Good Place have managed us into fame. It's true.
Yes. Yeah. So we're going to fly. Bass is stoked because it's first class, and first class gets salmon. Once again, hilarious. This doesn't get old to me the same way that Coach Hedge wanting to do martial arts all the time doesn't get old to me.
Because cats are forever. Cats are like the eternal entertainers throughout human civilization.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Mm-hmm. First domesticated and like not for a purpose.
I think Bass just freaks me out a little bit because she's too cattish to be looking like a person. Like, I'm
okay,
are you
imagining what's the mental image? Is your mental image Cats movie? Is it Catwoman? Is it
what do you see in your head when you read, Lily?
Like cat movie esque.
But she's looks like a cat on 2 legs, but she's only as tall vertically as a cat would be horizontally. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, like I feel like she's like as tall as a real person, but she's like humanoid, but she has like the cattish head face type of thing going on.
Like a Cat anime girl, or like Cats the film 2019,
Like Cats the
starring
film 2019.
such people as Taylor Swift and James Corden.
Oh God. Um,
I'm really sorry. Okay, actually, I am
sorry.
really sorry that that's what you picture in your head, because I just picture like a middle-aged woman in a bodysuit.
I picture literally Catwoman.
Halle Berry Catwoman, or
Mostly Halle Berry Catwoman. We've had several now. Like
yeah,
this is I actually put this in my notes for the next chapter where we talk about Bass specifically. There's going to be a moment where Bass literally like jumps out the top of the Washington Monument, falls down, beats up a monster, and then sprints away at 60 miles per hour. And that's a moment where, like, to me, it's like what we're experiencing is just Catwoman. But I don't know how many of the readers at the time or now would have that reference.
That's not what I picture.
Halle Berry Catwoman was 2004. It was like right after she won the Oscar. So like where they would have been in the water, but like I don't know if like the children would know what that is.
That might be too before their time for the children. I don't know.
I literally think that superhero media has gotten to a place where we don't actually have, like, I think a 12-year-old child today will have never seen a superhero who is like a human who is extra flexible because they have the powers of a blank, or like a human who is extra fast, but like not in a way that breaks physics or like is tied to a gigantic machine that a billionaire bought for them. But they're just like, oh, instead of running at 20 miles per hour, I can run at 50 miles per hour. You know? That is, I think, a genre of superhero that used to be all of them, and now it is none of them. But that's fast.
I feel like Spider-Man, though, he's like a spider bite, not because of like a suit type of thing. He just has, well, it depends on the Spider-Man.
Exactly. It depends on which Spider-Man. I was about to say, like, the Tom Holland one, I think, doesn't meet these criteria. The Miles Morales mostly does, I think. And, like, actual Spider-Man / Tobey Maguire, the first version, would have fit these criteria.
So the attacker is here.
Yes, we got woken up from the dream because Nat's like, you're under attack right now. Wake up. And she's right.
Great. And we'll take a break and then we'll be back for chapter 21. Chapter 21, Carter's perspective, Aunt Kitty to the rescue. This is a fun one. Also an emotional chapter, though. I actually got pretty emotional reading this morning. So the set animal is here. It doesn't have a name. We call it the set animal. If it did have a name, we wouldn't want to say it. But it's very bad. Quote, "It is merely known as the set animal, the Red Lord's symbolic creature. It shares his strength, cunning, and his evil nature." There is an ellipses before "and his evil nature," which I appreciate because we just had this whole conversation in the previous chapter about how maybe Set isn't like inherently evil. He just has some problems and we should maybe think and consider his nature. But clearly Bast is coming down on one side of this perspective. Because we're at the top of the Washington Monument, we need to find a way to get out of here. Bast is like, I'll just jump and land on my feet, like Carter said. But Sadie and Carter have to fly. Sadie does not want to turn back into a bird.
Bird trauma.
Bird trauma.
Yeah, a few chapters ago, she was stuck as a bird and she couldn't get out. And so she doesn't want to get stuck as a bird again. But she has to. It's the only way.
It is the only way. And we're experiencing all of Sadie's bird trauma through Carter's POV, as we mentioned. This is, I guess, the last time Sadie turned into a bird, we were in Carter's POV, but we've like had the opportunity to see how Sadie reflected on those experiences. Yeah. We're back in Carter's head, and now primarily what we're doing here is it's an exercise in empathy. We're seeing Carter struggle a little bit more to turn into a bird. Mm-hmm. We will see him struggle a little bit more to turn back and have like more to offer Sadie in these moments, and to dial it back, to like do the sibling thing and being like, okay, last time I tried something and that was unsuccessful. We went a little bit too far. I know that now, and we'll try something else now.
Yeah. Sammy, our guest from last week, was talking a bit about this, about how in the Heroes of Olympus, it feels sometimes like what's happening in the plot is being assigned to specific characters' narration just because it's their turn to be a narrator. And obviously there's so many more characters to balance. But I think this is a really great example of how specifically this is happening in Carter's perspective, because it strengthens our view of their relationship and the progression of their relationship to see Carter dealing with Sadie's panic attack.
Yeah. I find it like, much more, I shouldn't say much more touching. I do find it very touching to watch Carter look at Sadie as like a freaking out bird trying to turn back into a human and trying to non-verbally interpret her little bird movements and figure out how to help her calm down.
He says, "Sadie, it's okay. I'll stay with you. I'll make sure you turn back." That's just, So Bast punches a hole in the glass window at the top of the Washington Monument, and so they can fly out. So they fly out. They fly to the airport.
Specifically Reagan. Fascinating.
Are there lots of airports in DC, Carter?
I think Dulles for most people is the primary one, but we'll allow it.
Yeah. We hear the voice of Horace speaking to Carter and trying to like help him fly. Again, they're on much different terms than Sadie and Isis are right now. By the time we get to the airport, Sadie, as predicted, can't figure out how to turn back into a human. She's totally panicking and flapping her bird wings and like, tweeting and chirping. Carter is like, you know what helped me last time was thinking about my humanity. River Styx, Percy Jackson. I'm going to read this. She tilted her head and gurgled in a pleading way. I started talking to her the way I would to a scared animal. I wasn't really paying attention to the words. I was just trying to keep my tone calm. But after a minute, I realized I was telling her about my travels with Dad and the memories that had helped me get out of bird form. I told her about the time Dad and I got stuck in the Venice airport, and I ate so many cannoli I got sick. I told her about the time in Egypt when I found the scorpion in my sock, and Dad managed to kill it with the TV remote control. I told her how we'd gotten separated once in the London Underground, and how scared I was until Dad finally found me. I told her some pretty embarrassing stories that I'd never shared with anyone, because who could I share them with? And it seemed to me that Sadie listened. At least she stopped flapping her wings. Her breathing slowed, she became very still, and her eyes didn't look so panicked.
Something that I love about this moment is that when Sadie talks about like how she kind of envies Carter's life, she like envies the fact that he got to travel and then travel like with their dad. And when Carter like talks about like how he's envious of Sadie's life, he like wishes he had like friends and was like someone he could like talk to and communicate with, someone his age. And like he's now telling like someone remotely his age stories of stuff he wish he like or he would have done if he had friends. And Sadie's getting to learn about like what it would have been like to like travel like with the dad and stuff. So they're like almost like kind of getting what they would have wanted from each other in this excursion and like in an attempt to comfort, but like neither of them kind of know it. And it's such a soft moment.
Exactly. And I don't want to put too much on either of them, but I think that what Sadie really wants is to get to know her father, but she has this opportunity in a way to get to know her father through getting to know Carter. And that Carter is so much like their father that she gets to have that relationship with him through Carter. And similarly for Carter to kind of recreate his relationship, with his mom and this other side of his family through Sadie. And sharing all of this, it's like they are so much more to each other than just brother sister.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the line, who could I share them with? That is, I think, the crux of that sibling relationship that they have, where there is nobody else they could talk to about this besides each other.
Yeah. It's a good mirror too for the fact that broadly their journey with magic, trying to become magicians in the House of Life, is also something where like they're the only people who are experiencing this together. And the way that they're navigating that emotionally, and in this case, like actually as a matter of like skill and outcome, is to also rely on the other unique commonalities they have.
Yeah.
Is nice. And this is also the first time that we're really seeing them try to do the same thing magically. Like there's so much niche differentiation between the two of them that this is one of the few times where we really see Carter like coaching her basically as they're trying to do this, the same thing together.
Which is crazy because they weren't even meant to do this together at all. They like were raised separately because they were too powerful together, and now they're kind of figuring out how to do it together in their own way.
Yeah. Alone. Unfortunately, this doesn't work. That beautiful, I'm looking forward to reading Sadie's POV next, because I feel like Sadie's going to be like, I was upset, and so he just told me a bunch of stories that just made me more upset.
No, okay, she seems calmer, but it's not.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
She's calmer, but not calm enough to turn back. And so instead, he decides that we're just going to act like Sadie's a bird and try to walk into this airport for now. And he like asks her to, come and perch on his arm. And he's like, oh God, the talons, they really hurt. That image of like Sadie's little bird talons, like hooking onto Carter's arm, is almost like she's like gripping onto his arm, like terrified, which is just, little sister. He says, we'll get you out of this. Keep trying, relax, and focus on your human life. You'll figure it out, Sadie. I know you will. I'll carry you until then.
It's really sweet.
That is a powerful image of the makeshift falconer's glove in the airport.
Because literally, I'll carry you until then. But obviously, that's just...
Yeah, there's something... I think the specialness of the image is in part because of how panicked Carter is and how he's like doing his best and he's helping, but also like his capacity to offer anything to her is so limited because they're 2 years apart. think it's a similar type of tenderness of. I'm thinking of the final image or one of the near final images of Pen 15 where do you know what I'm referring to?
Where Shuji takes the skateboard.
Yeah, he like takes a skateboard and a bike and to go pick up the girls from a sleepover that's going really poorly. And they're like going away at like 5 miles per hour on like a skateboard and a bicycle because that is the capacity that could be offered, you know, like no one knows how to drive. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Lily and I, as youngest siblings, we can't speak to this, but Carter, that sensation of being panicked but having to put it aside to offer something to your younger sibling.
Yeah.
Well, that's my favorite part of this whole section, but there's a little bit more to cover. They encounter the police. Carter mentions that he does not feel comfortable around the police ever since he cites specifically age 11 as being when it changed for him.
Yes. This language is interesting where he doesn't name any particular reasons in his speech, but he does say like I think it is unique to me. I think that this is an experience that not everyone has. And he describes specific ways in which he feels that police are especially difficult for him.
Now, to say, like, I don't know, I feel like it's interesting too because, like, it's obviously referring to, like, his blackness, but also, like, the only other, like, consistently, like, he isn't around, like, communities of Black people all the time. He's just, like, with his dad. And so he speaks of it as, like, a unique experience for himself. I think because he views it as such, like he's not around like communities of enough Black people for maybe long enough to have like a conversation or share like an experience like that to be like, oh, like this kind of happens to like the necessarily group of people. But he's like not an idiot, and it happens consistently enough like for him to recognize it's an issue. So I think, I don't know, like it really, the way he speaks about it, talks about a person like who isn't like attached to his community but like still knows that like he is not part of somebody else's.
Yeah. Thinking about traveling the world with his dad and not having a safe place like that.
Poor baby.
Carter!
And he's so little. He's not even that old.
He's so precious! Don't you just picture him in like pants that are too big because they're like hand-me-downs from his dad, you know?
Belt on the last loop.
Rolled up. Yeah, cuffed.
Little corduroys, cuffed up. Unfortunately, he does have an encounter with the police now because he's carrying a bird
in the airport, and he has no idea where he's going, and he doesn't have a plane ticket.
Doesn't know what's going on. And when the cop is like, hey, you can't have that bird in this airport, also, where is your plane ticket and where are you going? As the title of this chapter tells us, Bast comes to the rescue. It's hilarious. I won't read the entire exchange, but she's hilarious. You should go and read this. She shows up. She's doing a whole thing. To me, what this is like when Jamba and Pleakley put on their drag. When Jamba and Pleakley put on their drag in the Lilo and Stitch movie, you know?
Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
And Pleakley is doing like the imitation of like an aunt, and I think that's what Bast is doing here with like a terrible wig.
Yes, at the risk of like sounding whatever, I think that it is like it's dull coded. I'll say that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This moment where she's doing an interesting exaggerated performance of like normal
woman.
Yeah. But like the exaggerated performance is like normal woman, but like kind of like more flirtatious, very overconfident, overcompensating, like high glamour for just walking through the airport, which I greatly appreciate. Like it sounds like she's wearing like a bespoke pantsuit and coat to like walk through security.
Mm-hmm. It's great.
It's a lovely image.
And
I'm thinking specifically of Electra Abundance. Like that's a voice I'm imagining that Bast is doing when talking to the security guard and like kind of flirting with him, and also being like, "We're fine. We know where we're going."
Yeah, I love it. She's great. And Carter's like, "Wait, how did you change clothes?"
That's the real dull-coded moment where she's just like, "This is like a cheap illusion."
Yeah, I just threw this together. Yeah,
it's like literally magic, and if you squint, you'll see that it's all fake.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Oh, I actually can gonna see that it's all fake."
Mm-hmm.
Which was a little rude of him to say, I feel.
But that's the sort of like the mist magic thing where once you know it's there, it's easier to see through it. Even the piece of paper.
She just handed him like a random envelope, but he saw it as something else. And it really reminds me of, I don't know if you guys have ever read Carry On, like Simon Snow by Rainbow Rowell.
Oh, yes. The like low-key legal Harry Potter fanfic, fair use.
Yeah. Exactly.
Book within the book. Yeah.
But in like the third-ish book of like that trilogy, they have like a whole encounter like with this airport scene where they're just like handing them stuff, but like they think it's money, but it's not. They just like take these taxi cabs, whatever, and they're able to like glamour it into looking like it's like money or like an airfare or whatever, but it's just like a receipt. I feel like the magic in that world works really similarly than it does here. I don't know. I felt like there's like a lot of parallels between that.
Yeah. I bet people have read that.
Yes.
Did she just come out with a new book too?
Did she?
I don't
She
know.
ended up writing 3 books in that series. Like, it was...
Good for her. Make your money. At this point, Bast is teaching them, like, we have more like last minute tutoring, or she's like, nobody teaches young magicians anything these days. And they were like, nobody taught us literally anything. We've been on the run. And she's like, I can't believe you don't know how to store your items in the doo-wot. And Carter's like, who was going to teach me this? But she shows them. Because she's Aunt Kitty, and she has to teach them things. And the chapter ends with Carter being like, are you sure I can get my stuff back? And Bast says, no. Now, come on. Yeah, and then we're off to Memphis.
Well, we're in the airport. We're making our way to the plane. We'll see if any other hijinks ensue before we get to Memphis.
Lily,
Yeah.
thank you for being here.
It's been a blast.
Will you share with the listeners why you think people should read the Caine Chronicles?
I think people should read the Caine Chronicles just because it's like a sibling dynamic duo, and I feel like we don't get that a lot in the Riordan verse. I mean, you do, but you kind of don't. I feel like this is more sibling coded than some of the other ones. I also think it's one of Rick's stronger series. I also think that like the character dynamics are really different in this series. So if you just like want to listen to something different, then it's there. But I don't know. I just think it's a strong one.
Yay. Thank you, Lily, for sharing with us your childhood relationship with Carter and Sadie and the Red Pyramid and the Caine Chronicles. We're going to be back to talk about Red Pyramid next week and probably the week after that. And then after that, it's time for the Wrath of the Triple Goddess. So we will put Red Pyramid on a brief pause so that we can all read the Wrath of the Triple Goddess together and book club it in real time, which is so exciting. So stick around for that. Yay! Bye, all.
Bye, all.